last time we completed up to verse 44. Anybody remembers what we discussed in that verse last time that we met?
Prabhuji, what I remember was that Vedas are Pushpitam Vacham, like lot of promises about sensory enjoyment. And it talks about the Karm Kand, how you, with the help of the fruitative activities like doing the sacrifices or yagna, you can rise to the higher planetary position, or you can gain power, money. And this is Krishna has given us the Vedas so that we can enjoy in the moral ways. All the sense, whatever sense gratification we are looking for in this materialistic world. And but the Gita, it also, but after the Vedas, if we are really looking for the transcendental knowledge, what exactly is, then we have to go beyond the Vedas and to understand that we are not this body, but we are the soul.
Yes, thank you very much for that summary. Yes, Pushpitam Vacham. It's like that. It's like that ad industry that's being dished out to us all the time. It will keep us engaged forever, and we have no end. So we should not be attached to the Bhog Aishwarya. That was what Krishna's message was in that verse. Imam Pushpitam Vacham. That's what he was saying. So in the sections that we have done till here for the second chapter, the first section was where Arjun's indecision was being mentioned up to verse 10. Then Krishna talked about that that you're not a body, you're a soul. That was Jnana Yoga, Sankhya philosophy. Then Krishna talked about Sakam Karma Yoga. We saw that Swadharma as a Varnashrama system which Krishna has established. So Krishna was asking Arjun to be a part of that Varnashrama system and fight as a Kshatriya. And when he fights as a Kshatriya, does his duties, Swadharma, he eventually moves up higher in the planetary system. He goes to the heavenly planets, which was contradicting Arjun's viewpoint that if he fights, he's going to go into the hellish planet. So that's the answer was Krishna was given. But then so we talked about how persons who have no concept of spirituality or God, they are karmis. Then comes Karma Kand, which is doing the duties according to Vedas. But that's also still moral materialism. And then after that, what Krishna is saying, Nishkam Karma Yoga. So that was Swakam Karma, so Dharma, so now it's Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is unattached yoga, unattached work. So that's the section that Krishna is now in, that we are into now. And that's what we're talking about. So Krishna, immediately when he starts this section, he tells that don't fall trap to the Pushpitam Vacham, the ad industry that's being that we are being subjected to the whole time. But we should repose ourselves in Krishna. That was what Krishna starts with. Yeah. So that was the 44th. Yes. So coming to the 45th verse, where Krishna is now mentioning about that the Vedas deal mainly with the subjects of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities, from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Right. So what he's asking is that don't fall trap to the what the Vedas are giving us. What they are primarily giving us is enjoyment in the three modes. That's all it's giving. And that was the reason of Vyasadev's discontent in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was morose that even though he had written all the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Vedas, still he was not happy. He was not satisfied. And he puts this question to his guru, Narad Muni. And Narad Muni tells him, what you have done actually is a disservice. You have provided everybody in this world a way to escape, to get entrapped in material happiness. You have given the Vedas, you have given different ways by which they can elevate themselves into high planets by enjoying. But what you have not given them is the knowledge about Krishna, about who God is, and about God's devotees, their relationships, etc. And that's why he was sad. So we are getting a hint of that here, that Krishna is asking that just go beyond those three modes of nature, right? And the flowery language is, we might have seen many flowery language people who have flowery language, but then somebody who has a flowery language but an evil mind, that's a very dangerous combination to have. They can fool people, they can misdirect them, and we see that so many fake gurus out there. So unfortunately, when you see these fake gurus, they're not able to give us a conclusion. Right? For example, I remember there was a student from IIT, and he was listening to this guru who was very good in his language, so-called flowery language. He was a famous guru with flowery language. So the student asked him after the whole class that, should I do what I like, or should I like what I do? And the guru, he thought for that question for some time, and then he said both, and he smiled. Now that's very perplexing, and that's what all the gurus do. They don't give any conclusive answers, right? Then the next day, this boy, he went to an ISKCON center, and there he was attending a class given by a beginner, probably 2 or 3 years in Bhakti, or even less than that, might be a newcomer. So he asked the same question to him, that should I do what I like, or should I like what I do? And the speaker, without a second thought, the speaker told him in this ISKCON center, you should do what Krishna likes you to do and like what Krishna tells you to do, which is a very conclusive answer, which tells us just follow Krishna. And we'll talk a bit more about this following and how do we do it in some later verses. But that was like a 100-volt bulb that just went on in his mind. This clarity no one gives. We're always perplexed, and to add fuel to the fire, we have so-called influencers who are presenting duality, and that the duality is shrouded in uncertainty, and there is this inconclusive, grandiose pomposity that they move around with. So that's the problem in today's world, that everybody has something to say, but nobody gives you a conclusive answer, and that too based on a bona fide theory, bona fide philosophy. Nobody gives you that. That is why when there have been thousands of versions of Bhagavad Gita, but not a single Krishna devotee. And then comes a pure devotee, Prabhupada, he gives a version of Bhagavad Gita and millions of people become devotees. That's the difference right there. If you give a conclusive answer, if you give the truth out there, you will surely find millions and millions of people who are actually seeking for that answer, right? Who don't want to be trapped in that advertisement industry of the day. And that's what Prabhupada gave us, and that's what Krishna wants us to have. So that's what he's saying here in the 45th verse, that Traigunya Vishaya Veda, so that they talk about the three gunas, Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Transcend them, Nistraigunya, transcend these gunas. That's what he's asking us to do. So just transcend these three modes. And this Nirdvanda, the word Nirdvanda, means without duality. So Dvandva is what I was talking about, the duality that everybody gives you. Everybody gives you what you want to hear. That's they just want to be nice in the books of people. But Prabhupada wasn't like that. He didn't want to be nice. He just wanted to give the truth to everybody. And he gave that clarity to us. So Krishna is asking to be Nirdvanda. I like this, I don't like this, get away from that duality. Otherwise, if you don't go to the conclusive answer, this duality is never going to go. Same with heat and cold, happiness, pleasure. That's all duality. And so we have to be Nirdvanda. And then Krishna says, Nitya Sattvastha. Always be engaged in Krishna conscious devotional service. And Niryoga Kshema, yoga means desire to gain something I don't have, and Kshema is desire to protect what I have. Right? So this is Niryoga Kshema. Free from ideas of gain and protection. So Niryoga means to gain something that I don't have, and Kshema means to protect something that I already have. So that's what something that Krishna is asking us to move away from. Right? Give up these desires. Because anyways, you will gain all that you deserve anyway. This is something that Narad Muni tells in the 4th canto, that Taseva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate brahmam upriyatha tallabhyate anyavad tallabhyate sukhavad anyata dukham kalena sarvatra gabhirahamsa. So what Narad Muni says is that don't endeavor for things that are going to come to you anyway. We don't want sorrow, sorrow comes to us. Similarly, happiness will also come to us according to our destiny. But what you should endeavor for, what we all should endeavor for, is something that cannot be attained by being in any of these 14 planetary systems. That's bhakti. We should strive for that. So that's what Narad Muni tells. So that's what Krishna is saying. That niryoga kshema, come out of that gain and protection. That I need this, and once I have it, I have to protect it. So that concept doesn't work in this world. We can barely protect everything. If something has to go, it just goes away. If something has to come, it will come. Right? That's the then last word is Atmavan, established in self. So Atmavan means spiritually established, spiritually aware. Right? I'm living in a way I don't know who I am. Right? Just like that story comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think, or Chaitanya Bhagavad, one of these books. The story comes, Mahaprabhu tells the story that how there was the son of a king, but he had lost his memory, and he was living a life of a pauper, a beggar. And he was so poor that one day he goes to a fortune teller, and he tells him, I'm so poor, can you help me out? And that fortune teller was amazed and told him, that the astrologer told him that, you are a son of a very rich man, but you don't know that, you don't remember it. Right? You're not aware of that wealth that your father has left for you, and I can even direct you where that wealth is. So that's like a guru, right? I don't know who actually I am. I'm not Atmavan. I'm not established in myself. But if we go to a guru, the guru can direct us. Right? We are Atma, but we are not Atmavan. When we become spiritually conscious, that's when we become Atmavan. Right? So that's the meaning of the word Atmavan. So reposing ourselves in Krishna to move from the state of being an Atma to being Atmavan, self-situated. Right? That the Atmavan means one, the word in Hindi, right? Whenever you add the word to something, one to something, it means you become rich in that particular aspect, right? Buddhivan, so somebody who's intelligent. Bhagyavan, bhagya is your fortune, somebody who's very fortunate. So when you add the word one to something, that you become a possessor of that thing. So right now I am an Atma, but I'm not Atmavan. Right? Atmavan literally means that my Atma is with me. I have not sold it off to those very glamorous, richly material attractions. So I become Atmavan. Okay? It's all about getting a resolute purpose in life, which is possible by getting Krishna and by getting a Guru. So this is the 45th verse we did. Okay, let me see if I highlighted it here. No, okay. Coming to the verse 46. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. We learned the concept of niyamagraha and niyamagraha in nectar instruction. Niyamagraha means to just follow the rituals, not be cognizant of them. Okay? So when we know what is the purpose behind Vedas, then we know the Vedas by themselves. Then we've already transcended the Vedas if we know the purpose behind it. So the ultimate purpose is to take everyone to Krishna. That is the whole purpose of Vedas, right? If you will notice in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there comes a verse And let me see if I can pull that up and I can show you that. Just that'll be a good example for us to look at. Give me 1 second. It's 11. Sorry. Yes. Let me share. 11:5:11. So the verse says, this is 11th canto, 5th chapter, 11th verse. In the material world, the conditioned soul is always inclined to sex, meat eating, and intoxication. Therefore, religious scriptures never actually encourage such activities. Although the scripture injunctions provide for sex through sacred marriage, for meat eating through sacrificial offerings, and for intoxication through the acceptance of ritual cups of wine, such ceremonies are meant for the ultimate purpose of renunciation. So some people might say this to you to counter your arguments, your presentations of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, that, oh no, your Vedas tell that you can eat meat, so I'll eat meat. So this is one verse to teach them that what is the purpose of all that's been mentioned. Right? Intoxication is mentioned in Ashar. Nobody's denying that. Bhagavatam is very clearly accepting that. But let's read the purport. I'll show the section where there was one paragraph I remember that. Okay, I don't think I can find it. Okay, let's just see this. So such materialistic persons are unwilling to give up such temporary gratification because they are firmly bound up in the bodily concept of life. For such person, there are numerous Vedic injunctions for rituals that bestow material sense pleasure in a regulated manner. The conditioned soul thereby becomes accustomed to indirectly worshipping the Supreme Lord by accepting the austerity of regulated sense gratification in obedience to the Vedic way of life. Through purification, the living entity gradually develops a higher taste and becomes directly attracted to the spiritual nature of the Lord. So, Vedas provide a very friendly spirituality for everybody in this world, whether the person is in the lowest ignorance mode or whether the person is in the mode of goodness. So it's available for everybody. But there is a purpose for whatever is given. If I, who am, I've been initiated, I'm Brahman initiated. If I take shelter of this verse and say, oh, Vedas let us drink and have illicit sex and have on meat eating and intoxication, so I'll go do that. I cannot do that because I, as a soul, have come to a level, and not just me, all of you, all of us have come to a level where we have understood that this material world, that whatever the Vedas are doing, giving, it's not necessarily for me. It's not given for me, right? You might go to a park and you might see that, okay, no skateboarding here. Let's say you see a sign, but I don't skateboard, so that sign is not meant for me. Similarly, this is given in Vedas, but it's not meant for me because I'm much advanced in that. You all are much advanced in that. So we as advanced souls cannot take shelter of this verse to indiscriminately eat or intoxicate, eat meat or intoxicate. So that's what the meaning of this verse is, what we were discussing. And let's go back to that verse. That if we know what the purpose of the Vedas is, then our purpose is, then we can move beyond the Vedas. We don't need to get stuck in the Vedas, right? And Prabhupada also gives in the first sentence right here that they are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization, right? Because people are in different phases of their life. Some are extremely ignorant. You cannot, to an extremely ignorant person, you just cannot go and present the idea of a personal God. That person will be confused and he will become blasphemous, and actually he will push himself down further. So we don't do that. So it's a very gradual development. That's the meaning of this verse, that if we understand the purpose of the Vedas, we can easily transcend them. We don't have to follow them. And that's what Prabhupada has always told us, that we don't have to follow the Vedas are only for karma kandis, who are practicing karma. Right? So, and this verse comes, this is a very beautiful verse. This is the verse that in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Uddhava is talking to Vidura in the 3rd canto, and there he says that Vidura asks Uddhava about Lord Krishna and his pastimes, and Uddhava becomes very emotional, and this is the verse he sings there. He says, Aho bata so pachato garyan yajjivagre vartate namatubhyam tepus tapaste juhuvu shashnurarya brahmanachur nama grananti vite. That a person, although he may be born a person who is chanting your holy name, although born in a low family like Chandal, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must perform all kinds of penances and sacrifice according to Vedic ritual and study the Vedic literature many, many times. So the person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So irrespective of whatever condition a person is, and that is why the philosophy that Prabhupada has given us, it's for everybody, indiscriminate. There's no discrimination here. No discrimination on the basis of gender, no discrimination on the basis of your country of origin, your skin tone, your accent, no discrimination. Why? Because anybody who can chant the holy names of the Lord is beyond all this discrimination, this bodily discrimination. That is why Prabhupada brings out this verse here in the purport to impress upon the fact that a person who has understood the purpose of Vedas has transcended them, and he is the best of the Aryan family. And we talked about the word Aryan in the beginning of the 2nd chapter. The word Aryan means anybody who is spiritually intelligent, spiritually inclined is an Aryan. And Krishna actually was condescending Arjuna by saying him Anarya Jishtam Aishwarya. He calls him Anarya. But the meaning of the word Aryan is somebody who is spiritually advanced. Okay, so this is the 46th verse. Then comes the famous verse, 47, which the entire India, whoever knows anything from Bhagavad Gita, they say, I know Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, do your duty and forget everything. But let's look at this verse now. Karmani evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvur ma te sango astu akarmani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. What a beautiful verse here. Amazing verse. So, what now Krishna is mentioning here, that, so one thing let me highlight before we tell that when, this question, there are many questions that anybody can ask us based on this verse, or can make comments. The first very common is that people say that, oh, how can I focus if I, or how can I be enthusiastic if I don't focus on my fruits, on the goal, or on the outcome? Okay. So as a devotee, the reason Krishna is asking us to not focus on the goals, because focusing on the results is very entangling for us. We forget our higher purpose. So when we work for Krishna, we have a motive higher than personal satisfaction, right? So when I score good in school, for example, I want others to see my score. I want them to glorify me. So I don't want to be isolated, right? So the concept of karmani evadika raste is not that we don't focus on the results at all, but we don't let our mental energy get directed towards the results. Arjun fought for a result. He wanted to win the war, right? Everyone works with the result in the mind. But not being attached to that result is what Krishna is asking us to do. So non-attachment to an activity, it doesn't mean we are denying that activity. Okay? But then again, Krishna is also saying, do your duty also. Don't be attached to not doing your duty. That's also an important aspect. Some people can say, oh, because I'm not worried about the result, I won't do the duty also. No, but that's not what Krishna is asking us. He asks Arjun that Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manusmrita. 8th chapter, 7th verse, Krishna says that. Bhagavad Gita. That remember me and then fight. Okay? Krishna was asking him to fight. There was a result in mind. But he was asking Arjun to direct his senses towards Krishna, towards him. That was the difference, right? So that's one question that always comes up, that, how can I be enthusiastic if I don't focus? So the answer to that is, you're not being asked to deny something, deny the result. You're just being asked to not be attached to the result. Okay. You have to be very, very careful in planning for that result. So there's a difference between carelessness and detachment. Carelessness is before doing the action, that I don't put my complete intelligence in doing it. Detachment is after the action, that I put my complete intelligence in doing the work, but now I'm not worried about the results because it's not in my hands. I'm not the doer here. Okay. So based on that, a second question can come. Somebody can ask you, okay, if I'm not the doer, then why are we held responsible for our actions? Okay. Somebody can ask you, oh, I'm not the doer. I can do whatever. I can just do it because I'm not the doer. I don't have to bear the fruits of it. Okay. But that's also not the way to think about it. So a thief steals. If you look at a common example, a thief steals, is caught by the police, and then sentenced to jail by the judge. Okay. So there are three factors involved there. So there's Jiva. Okay. There is Ishvara, and there is Prakriti. Okay. So the Jiva steals. The Prakriti, the Ishvara, the Prakriti will sentence that, they will catch the thief, and then the Ishvara, you'll be punished for it. It's more of an outcome of our result. No, I think I messed that up. Sorry, I'll take a step back. So the thief is the Jiva, the Prakriti is what's sentencing it, is giving the outcome to it. And who's being told who's telling Prakriti to give out what is the Ishvara, because the soul wanted it and wanted it so badly, the Prakriti provides it under the guidance of Ishvara, because I desired it, right? So the police would not have arrested the thief, or the court would not have sentenced him to jail if he would not have made the steal. So in one sense, the person's robbery is the initiating cause. That is why we take responsibility, right? But then again, I'm not fully responsible for it. I've just set the ball rolling, but I have to bear the brunt of it. Right? I have to face the outcome of it. So that is not in my hands. So I'm not the whole and sole doer. So, but then I am a part of it. That is why if here Krishna is saying, don't worry about the results, it doesn't mean that I'm not the doer at all. I'm not responsible for the actions. I am going to be. Whatever I put in, similar results will I get, right? So that's one question that comes in. And then another question that can come into people that can ask is that our goals are the results we seek, right? How can we set goals but be detached from those results? It sounds very, fantasy. So for that, what Krishna tells us, it comes in the 18th chapter. He tells us that there are 5 doers actually. So the body, and then the soul, the performer, our senses, which the person is using. Then there are different kind of endeavors, and then there's ultimately the super soul. There are 5 factors that are involved in that action, right? So once again, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, that being attached to goals means focus on what is in our control. But then being detached from the results means stop worrying about what's not in our control. So if somebody asks you this question, that how can I set goals but be detached from results? So to explain that means that we can be attached to our goals. That's not a problem. We can focus it. We can focus on what is under our control. But we have to be detached from results by not worrying because it's not under our control. So detachment from results is not indifference to the goals, right? So that's the basic essence, right? So detachment from results is not indifference to the goals. That's something you always have to understand. So Krishna is not asking us to be indifferent to the goals. All he's asking us, don't worry about what is not under your control. That's what Krishna is asking. And also, don't give up your duty with this thought in mind that, oh, I'm not the doer. The outcome is not my responsibility. I won't. That's where the biggest flaw comes in the Mayavad philosophy. That all they always say is, everything is Maya, I'm giving up everything. But you cannot give up everything. You have a body. You have to serve this body. The body needs food. The body needs shelter, clothing. You have to act on the call of the nature. If you're feeling sleepy, you have to go to sleep. If you're tired. So that's the biggest flaw that Mayavadis present. Right? That everything is a flaw. No. So working with that thought in mind, that I'm not the only doer, I'm not the one who's responsible for the outcome, for the result. We can very well be focused in our goals and be detached from our results. So that's this. This is a very important verse. You will see people misuse it, misinterpret it all over the country, all over India, all over the world. So, and then sometimes people may say that, okay, if I'm not worried about the results, how do I work? In office, everybody's working for results. Your entire promotion system is based on results. There, we have to understand that we understand the philosophy and we do sadhana. Okay. So by that way, we are intellectually convinced that Krishna is our goal of life. Okay. So that should be our ultimate pursuit, right? So we don't have to be. We can work, right? Even though our work might seem like passion, that also is to some extent in Krishna consciousness, because you have intellectually convinced yourself that Krishna is my goal, right? In one sense, look at this way. When you go to work and you are asking for a promotion, you're asking for a better salary, you're fundraising for your home temple. That's what you're doing practically, right? We take care of our family for Krishna's purpose. My house, my kitchen is for Krishna's purpose. So Krishna himself says this in the 7th chapter, that I forgot the Sanskrit. It says, Krishna says that I am the ability man in all humans. So what it means that whatever excellence we achieve in our work, we see that as an opportunity to be Krishna conscious. So if somebody comes and tells you that, oh, I cannot focus on my work because of this verse that Krishna is speaking, so just you can correct them by explaining it to them that, you be intellectually convinced that Krishna is your goal, and understand that whatever you're doing at work, whatever desire you're having of a promotion or for a better salary, is as a fundraising for your home temple. So think it from that perspective. So this is the verse about. It's a bit of a complicated verse, right? So first level Krishna gave us is work for results. Moving up the higher planetary system. But then the second, what Krishna is giving us here in this section of Buddhi Yoga, is work for your purification. And beyond that is working for Krishna. 3 levels. Okay. One is karmic, working for results. Okay. Next is sadhana bhakti that we all are doing because we want to purify ourselves. I'm not a Raganuga Bhakta. I don't have spontaneous love for Krishna. I have no love for Krishna practically. But there are pure devotees who have spontaneous love for Krishna. So there is materialists, karmis, lowest rung. Then come sadhaka bhaktas, we all practicing. Then come premi bhaktas, who are in love with Krishna, who have transcended the karmic and the sadhana bhakti, and they have come to the topmost level. So those are the 3 levels that Krishna will talk about broadly in the entire Bhagavad Gita. And at the end, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam. That highest goal is just to come to, right? So, for example, I also did Bhakti Sastri. So the goal is to purify ourselves, not just getting marks, right? This motive of not getting marks and just for our purification, this motive frees us from the dependence on results. It does not mean you don't care for the results, but then you have kind of freed yourself from dependence on this, right? Because you understand that you are not the guru, you're not the cause of the result, only cause of the result. That's why you're not attached to it, and you understand that it's just for my purification. Okay, so I'll take a break here. Thoughts, comments, critics, anything that you didn't like, anything you liked that you would want to bring out?
Very quick question.
Yes, Ruth.
you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. So the prescribed duty, right? I mean, we learned about ashramas and what the prescribed duty according to the ashrama that you are in, that is one aspect to it. But in a practical life, right, any decision that we make from a day-to-day basis becomes kind of, it's kind of a it becomes a sub duty, right? Small chunks of duties that you perform on a day-to-day basis. So it might fall under a larger prescribed duty as a grahastha or whatever, but so the prescribed duty, I mean, my question is, let's say if somebody is in, a good consciousness, then if their mind wants to do something because it's their passion or hobby or whatever, that's the only thing that they want to pursue, right? For sustaining their family, right? For example, any one job that I'm doing right now, I might be passionate about it, or I might be liking the money factor of it, or whatever it is. Does that constitute prescribed duty? Because that's a little vague to me,
Okay, so your question is, what is prescribed duty? Is that what your question is, Prabhu?
Yes, that is the question, Prabhuji.
Okay. In a broader sense, anything that takes you closer to Krishna is your prescribed duty. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. I'm just giving you a very broad term here. Once again, as you were saying, there could be subsections to it. And as a matter of fact, let me take you to a chapter. Prabhupada talks of this. If I know I don't know which, this is 700 page. What's this? Oh, this is 11th verse chapter. Oh, wait, this is, no, I'll show you one. Sorry. 18, that's 28 is what I'm looking for. Okay, 27. So this verse says, Krishna is saying, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever is you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So let's see what Prabhupada says right in the first sentence here. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna, and so on and so forth. What we are understanding from here, that our duty, this is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget in Krishna in any circumstance. So if you have the bigger goal that I want to mold my life according to Krishna consciousness, according to Krishna, then automatically all the sub jobs that you will be doing will become Krishna conscious. For example, let's say I say, okay, I want to offer food to Krishna. Let's just look at one aspect. So what happens immediately is the purification in your life that comes is, okay, I've been told I cannot offer anything of onion garlic. That kind of cuts out practically 99% of the stuff that you bring from outside. So now you will cook mostly at home because you have molded your life that you want to offer whatever you eat to Krishna. So that purification has happened as a subsection that stops you from eating outside, from buying things from outside, because everything practically has been made in a facility that has eggs or meat in there, or the product itself has eggs or any animal products in it. So that kind of removes that. So you have purified your life. Then next aspect, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that in 17th chapter, verse 7 or 8, that Puti Parishittam Chayet, Uchistam Apicha Medhyam, Bhojanam Tamsi Priya. That any food that has been made, generally they say it's 3 or 4 hours old, it becomes in a mode of ignorance. So that's an indication that we want to offer Krishna fresh food. So now you will cook fresh food and offer Krishna fresh food and you will eat fresh. So all the subsections of all the sub jobs of your eating have been automatically purified the moment you think of the bigger concept that I want to offer whatever I eat to Krishna. That's one example that I thought of. But I'll take a pause here, and if I just to ask you if I'm in the right direction or did I completely went off target.
Yes, Prabhuji, I got the mool mantra. Yeah, I think I get the point now. Yes, absolutely
So-
clear. I mean, yeah, there was, yeah. So yeah, the second aspect to it was, I mean, spontaneous love is a very, very like you said. I mean, I think personally, I'm in the negative, but for me to even progress from that negative, even like a pin of a needle bit, I think first I need to understand Krishna. So that's the whole point. I mean, right now, he's in the DT form. There are some pastimes that we randomly hear about Krishna, but I don't think I even know Krishna in order to start loving him or whatever, in whatever rasa. That is a whole different story. I don't know this. I don't know this.
It's not just you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
I'm also in the same boat. I don't understand Krishna. That is why we all are sadhaka bhaktas. We are practicing devotees. We are practicing to become devotees of Krishna. And that is why we need a guru who can tell us all the time, do this, don't do that. This is what you should do in this situation. I practically call up my spiritual master for everything. Like, Guru Maharaj, I'm planning to change a job. Do you think it's good for me? These are the qualities that this job has, which I don't have in my old job. And my master tells me that. I'll tell him, Maharaj, I'm about to buy a new house, and this is the challenges I'm facing in you. I ask him everything, and he can guide me in everything.
Got it.
So that's where the clarity comes in. And that is why we are sadhaka bhaktas. And that is why we are told to follow a set of rituals. Because a pure devotee, he can easily transcend those rituals. He becomes, and I'll talk this about that in some of the later verses. The concept of being immoral, moral, and transmoral. So right now, I am in a position where I'm moral. I have to be moral because I'm not pure. But a pure devotee, you might see a pure devotee who suddenly sees the deities, and he or she might go in a trance, and he or she might not pay obeisance to the deity. So, but that is that's beyond that. That's pure love for the Lord, which we all are. At least I am not there, and at least I am doing my sadhaka bhakti to be there. So, Prabhu, it's not just you. Everybody is in that same boat. I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And as I always say, the purpose of, so I told you what the prescribed duty in a broader sense means. In general, every single living entity should mold his or her life in a way that it could be conducive to your bhakti process. It should not be that I have to go work at 5 in the morning and I come back at 8 in the evening and have no time for chanting. When I'm chanting, I fall asleep. I have no time to listen, no time to hear. Some people are in those tough jobs, but it's unavoidable. But if you can avoid it, you should. But if it's unavoidable, you just tolerate it as much as you can. But generally, we should try to not be in those conditions, try to avoid them, right? So and Krishna himself says that in the 4th chapter will come, Guna Karma Vibhage, that Chaturvarnya Maya Shishtam, Guna Karma Vibhage, that Krishna has divided the society in different sections according to their quality, that is Guna and Karma. So Guna means what is my quality, and then what can I do, my karma, my karmic activity. For example, if I don't have a strong body, I cannot do physical labor, right? So Krishna won't, if I'm not born, or I'm not born in a scenario where I can have a good strong body, Krishna will never ask me to do bonded labor or even any things that require physical activity. You see that, right? People from India, you can tell them any of that brainy stuff to do. Intellectuals, India, you can get any of them from India. But then you talk of people who are physically strong. No, we are not good in sports. Yeah, we are good in a sport like cricket where mind is used, but we are not good in a sport where necessarily physical strength is needed. Athletics or probably those kind of things. Why? Because we're not designed that way. That's not I'm not a part of a society which needs to be physically strong. We are all India people. They are more intellectual. So just that was a very strong example, but that's the purpose of the way Krishna has defined it. But in today's world, that's all is completely messed up. I might be by nature, I might be a Brahmana, but then because the politics attracts me, the concept of Kshatriya that attracts me, so I'll go into politics and I will be a very poor politician and I'll never do justice to my job, and then I'll also be frustrated. Like that's the whole mess up that's happening. People who are not supposed to take a position of politicians are taking those up. People who are supposed to be Brahmanas have actually started to act like Shudras, and Shudras are becoming the leaders of the society. All messed up. So that is why prescribed duty has a broader perspective. Make your life as harmonious as you can for bhakti process, and that harmonization can only happen when you do whatever is according to your guna and karma. And I'll take a pause there. Sorry, very long answer.
No, totally makes sense, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
And just one sentence I'll finish with. By observation, by introspection, and by association, you can always learn what your guna and karma is. What is your position in that varna ashrama? You can always find that. It might need some time, but observation, introspection, and associating with senior devotees or such people, you can always find that. Okay. Okay. Thank you, bro. That was a wonderful question there.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any more thoughts or questions before I jump on to the next verse? Oh, where did I go?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I do understand this verse, but it's very difficult to disassociate yourself with the result, right? It's suppose for us, like in our day-to-day professional work, we are mature enough, like we are not aiming for promotion and all, we are working hard. So we maybe that means we would have got that level of advancement in our life. But when it comes to our kids, right? Suppose somebody's kid is appearing for SAT, and that's very important. Just an example I'm throwing out there, because he really needs to get good numbers to get into a Ivy League or something. I'm just so kids work very hard, right? But obviously his score is not good. So somewhere down the line, you feel like working hard is good, right? But when you don't get the result, right, you cannot be means it's a very spiritual way of saying to your kid, right? Okay, don't worry. Okay, you worked so hard, it's all good. You cannot control on the result, It's like in the demanding word where obviously there are challenges. You're working hard. You are like burning oil lamp day in and day out, and then you don't get the result. So it's spiritually and transcendentally, this looks so much making sense. But in today's, especially for the kids, I'm talking, like we are mature enough now. I understand the purpose. I don't run for so much of work advancement now. I've slowed down. But for the kids who are like in their 11, 12 years old, they are aspiring to be this, going for the Ivy League. You cannot say, okay, don't worry, you get 510 out of 600. That's okay. What are we running for? What is this all about? Means we can talk all that too, but how does that make sense for the kids, Prabhuji?
It will not necessarily make sense, but surely you can make them as a strong individual that they, and one second, let me take a step back. Krishna is not saying that you become indifferent to the goals. That's the first thing you have to understand. If the child is giving a SAT exam, he's sitting for SAT, he or she should not think that, oh, I'm not worried what my result is going to be. That person should think of the result.
No, he's worried about the result, Prabhuji, but if he or she does not get what he is aiming for, right? Then we are saying, right, we say, okay, you do your piece, you worked hard, leave the result to Krishna. So I cannot say, okay, I did not get because maybe Krishna did not want me to get because of my past karma. I was not there to be there. Means these are like, we can talk and on, but how do we comprehend when it comes to the current situations of the youth of today?
Well, see, Mataji, this is not something you can infuse in a youth in just one day. They have to be brought up in an environment where they understand this philosophy. They understand that how this whole thing works. If your child is being taught from day one, if somebody's child is being taught from day one that work like an ass and you will get results, okay, then the child will continuously keep working in that environment. But if as a parent, if I am exhibiting this quality of showing the child that, see, I'm working hard, but I'm not worried about the results, and the child sees this, children see that in their parents, so they also start to imbibe it. So it's not just what the child himself or herself thinks, it's also the environment the child is being brought up. If the environment is not conducive, it doesn't give out that message that, that you are loved irrespective of whatever your outcome may be. Because why is the child worried about the result? There could be many reasons, right? Social peer pressure. It could be, getting that sense of affection and appreciation from parents because he or she has seen that, oh, my parents only become happy with me when I get good grades. There could be many reasons why the child is focusing on the goals. But if we are able to bring up our children in a way by exhibiting it ourselves, that my most important thing in my life is bhakti, everything else is secondary. I might get what I want to and might not get what I want to, then the children also imbibe that philosophy. But then if you feel that no, parents are not into spirituality, the children have been brought up with this, oh, you have to become a doctor one day, slog like an ass, then you cannot expect them to not worry about their future. They are going to worry about it. The children commit suicide. Why? Because they have been put into this impression that the outcome of the goal is in your hands, and if you don't get it, there is a flaw in you. So it's a very psychological and an emotional situation for children. You cannot change it in one day. As what I want to highlight. So it's an environment that you give to a child that eventually makes the child so confident that whatever the result may come, nothing is going to change in my life. That's something you have to, that the parents, the family, the environment has to, infuse into the child. Does that make any sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes.
So yeah, it's not that, for example, if my son sees me that I work 10 hours a day or 14 hours a day, and I come home frustrated with my work. Every morning I am rushing to reach to work, and then I come home and tell him, oh beta, don't worry about results, don't worry about work. And he'll say, Papa, but you work like you slog so much throughout the day, and why are you teaching me this? So it has to come from the parents and from the environment to the child. And then the child will automatically pick up. You see, there are so many Krishna conscious children. I know so many of them, right? They don't, nobody's worrying that, oh, you didn't get the A+ grade in your school. No, they don't worry. Children are doing their best. Parents are happy, children are happy. They're trying to mold them to be confident, intelligent beings. And that's what they need to be. That's all. They'll figure it out for themselves. But I can understand, as a parent, we all have some worries in our hearts, but it's something that we have to include.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And that is why children from a very young age in the past were given spiritual knowledge, right from a very young age. So that by the time they are ready to face the world, they are strong internally. They are so strong, just like as I always say, they have made their ship unsinkable in this stormful world. The parent is never going to teach a child. I'm not going to teach my son, oh, don't worry, things will get better tomorrow. No, they're never going to get better. I want you to get stronger. That's all I want my son to do. That's what I want to teach for our children. Okay, let's go to the next verse. So we did 40, let's go to 48. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachment to success, failure.
Sorry, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
so Prabhuji, that means that like children who are doing this studying and also, that means that they are doing that prescribed duties as well, right? That their prescribed duties.
Yes, they are doing the prescribed duty. You're right, because Krishna is the intelligence is also coming from Krishna. And if you say that I am intelligent but I don't use it, so that's also kind of you're not doing your proper service, right? There are so many devotees who are extraordinarily intelligent. They are very good painters. Somebody is an academician. In Prabhupada disciples, there are so many. Sadhguru Das was a PhD, and he wrote so many, actual scientific papers to corroborate the Vedic philosophy. So whatever intelligence you have, you use it to the best of your capacity. That's also your prescribed. Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So from this verse here, you'll see this many phrases coming which were similar to this. Yogastha. Yogastha means equipoised. We'll go down further. There'll be other verses. Achalam. Achalam is again a word that means equipoised. So Krishna, from this verse onwards, he's going to stress on being equipoised. And then when we come to the end of this section, the word that Krishna will use is Sthita Pragya. And then that will lead to the last section of this chapter. Arjun asks, who is this? No, Samadhi. Krishna will use the word Samadhi. And then Arjun will ask, what are the qualities of a person who is in Samadhi? So that will be seen. So from here, this equipoised, this thought of equipoised starts coming into the picture, right? So Yogastha means being situated in yoga. Right? So as we're talking, we all have our set of duties to perform. We have our desires coming on a daily basis or even a minute basis for me. But then what we do is we equipoise. So there's a balance of forces, balance of interest, and Krishna is revealing to us now that more of what yoga means. So the word yogastha means always being in yoga. So what does that mean? Always being equipoised, learning to tolerate whatever this world is offering to us. Right? That's the essence of it. And we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, first chapter, Brahma says this. Right? Tatya anukampam susamikshamano bhunjanevatra kritam vipakam vidbhagavad bhurbir vidhan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya. That whoever just lives through this life, tolerating whatever is coming to him or her in this life, always keeping his or her focus on Krishna, is eligible to go back home, back to God. And that's what Krishna is giving us in a condensed form here, in a truncated way, that be equipoised, tolerate. We saw that word tolerate coming thrice in the earlier part of this chapter. So that's the important essence coming from it now. Yogastha, being tolerant, being equipoised. Okay, and not taking the dictation from our senses, because if we take dictation from our senses, we'll never be able to be equipoised. We have to take dictations from Krishna, or those who are following Krishna for that matter. Then we are not bound to the results of our activities, and then we are not disturbed by the results. If I am investing too much in the results, if the results don't fall into the domain where I want them to, I become disturbed. But if for a minute, if I'm just able to tell myself, I did my best, whatever the outcome, that's not in my hand, I'll not worry. I immediately become equipoised. So trying to follow an authority and following the process that Krishna is recommending to us, consulting higher authority, then that's a good idea. So confirming one's life to Krishna's desire, right? Because Krishna's desire will come to pass anyway, right? People set goals, they move around the world, and then what happens? So they just set goals, they set their desires. What happens then? The world moves against their desires. What's that called? Suffering that we all are going through. I have desires, I have thoughts, this is the way I want it to be, and then it never happens. The outcome is suffering or reversal of fortune. Right? I try to convey to Krishna that Krishna, I know what is fortune for me, what is valuable for me. And that is why I say it should happen this way. But the world doesn't work according to, right? So I have to act in yoga. And this is very how to say it? It's deceptively easy, as I would say, deceptively easy. And why is it deceptively easy? Because Krishna is giving us clear directions in Bhagavad Gita, right? But then, are we interpreting it in the right way? That's the question to ask. That is why we need a guru, right? So there was this, I remember there was Prabhupada went to a conference on Bhagavad Gita, and the person who was organizing the conference, he said, oh, people come from different backgrounds, and they present Bhagavad Gita in their own ways, and it's okay, because people can approach Krishna in from many directions. But Prabhupada very bluntly told him, no, that's not correct. Prabhupada presented this idea that there is a clear direction from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Not only there is a clear direction, who Krishna is, and he's the one who's speaking Bhagavad Gita. And Yogi, the other yogi who was organizing the conference, he was saying that people can have their own idea. The whole idea of spirituality is mysterious. And Prabhupada said it, nah, all that is useless, the scrap that you're talking about. And Prabhupada said, it is not mysterious. Krishna is saying there, man mana bhava mad bhakto mam yaji mam namaskuru. Think of me. It's not amorphous, it's clear out there. So that is why it's deceptively easy. It's easy if you're able to see it through what Krishna is giving. It's deceptive if I try to bring my own speculations. So that's what we have to understand here. That being equipoised, coming into such an equanimity, which is called yoga. And Prabhupada makes a very good statement here, that what does yoga mean? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. Our mind can only be controlled by concentrating ourselves on the Supreme. There is no other way. Everything else in this world is standing on shaky grounds, and if I put my faith on them, my faith will also be shaky. So I have to hook myself onto something or someone who is absolute, and that is only Krishna and no one else. Okay. So Krishna himself is telling Arjun to fight. Arjun has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. It's not Arjun's concern. Same way, we are supposed to fight in this world, whatever fights we are in, whatever our battles are. But then the gain or loss is Krishna's big concern. That's not my concern. In that way, I just shed off a lot of tension and stress out of myself. If I say I'll do my best, I'll leave the rest to Krishna. But I should do my best. Krishna says that. I should not be attached to giving up my faith. Okay. Dhurena hi avaram karma. It's coming to the 49th verse. Buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanam anvicha kripana phala hetava. Krishna is now saying, O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their works are misers, kripana. They're called kripana. Okay. So just like in our house, right? So you clean your house every day, and you're done with your cleaning, and suddenly you see a cockroach in the corner, and you go hysterical. That, oh my God, I just did a deep clean, and now there's a cockroach in the corner. How did that happen? So you immediately bring your broom and you sweep the cockroach out. A no nonsense policy in your house, kind of. So similar is an intellect of a devotee. When a nonsensical thought comes, we sweep it out. How? By buddhi yoga. Durena avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. We should keep all abominable activities away by buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga is by being in Krishna consciousness. So abominable activities are of 4 types. Prabhupada has clearly delineated those to us. When we break the principles of truthfulness, cleanliness, austerity, and mercy, 4 of them, 4 principles. And how do we break them? In the form of gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, and meat eating. And Prabhupada didn't just whimsically bring out these 4 principles. They're coming from the Bhagavatam. They're coming from his personal experience, from the teaching of acharyas. What happens when we break these 4 principles? It causes a disruption in our consciousness. It doesn't allow us to progress spiritually. Just imagine you have 4 horses to a chariot, and each horse wants to go in one direction. So your chariot goes nowhere. The consciousness becomes more and more riveted in matter if we let any of these 4 abominable activities overrule our lives. Krishna is not asking us to, be like, oh, become a sage and go sit in the mountains. No. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chetasya bodhasya. 6th chapter, Krishna says. Control everything. Keep it in a controlled way. Okay. So we are not austere to the maximum kind that, oh, I'll go and sit in the Himalayas. I'll have a deer skin to wear. I will eat leaves and berries and just drink water from the Ganges probably and starve myself to death. No, Krishna will balance your life in a way that you could progress in spirituality. So some people think that we have to surrender our intelligence to Krishna. No. Buddho Sharanam, right? There's this phrase that's coming here. Buddho Sharanam Anvicha. Buddho means consciousness, and Sharanam means full surrender. Anvicha means strive for. Krishna is saying that you should surrender. You should not surrender your intelligence to me. You should surrender with intelligence. A big distinction. Don't surrender intelligence, surrender with intelligence. We have to ask questions. Don't blindly accept what a guru or a sadhu or Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita says. Ask questions. All these books have stood the test of time because they have answers for whatever questions we have. Otherwise, these books would have been in dust by now. Nobody would have talked about it. They are there because they have answers. Okay? That's what it is. We should know why to do a service. Don't become a kripana. Kripana phala hetava. Kripana is one who are not far-sighted. Okay? Those who are looking for results, looking for material acknowledgement of our service. Okay? material acknowledgement. There is no harm in looking for acknowledgement. You have to understand that. So we as human beings, we have a need to be accepted and respected in whatever community we belong. Okay, this is by no means wrong or unhealthy. Remember that. Okay, it's just a natural human need. And to the need this extent is, to the extent this need is addressed, to that extent we can function properly in our lives, right? So the need for appreciation is not like that our ego's desire for sense gratification. No, they're different, right? Although we are aspiring for pure selfless motivation, but with work, we work with whatever motivation we have at this time. Okay, so we have to work with Krishna with whatever existing motivation we have while improving our existing motivation, right? So it's not that, oh, because I'm looking for acknowledgement for my service, I'll stop doing this service. No, don't do that. Use your intelligence. Surrender with intelligence. Asking for appreciation, looking for that is not wrong. Eventually, we want Krishna to appreciate our work, but wherever we are, it's okay. We just slowly take baby steps and we move forward. Okay. But Karpana is somebody who is seeking worldly appreciation, and Krishna is saying, don't do that. Phala hetva, enjoying fruits of work. So when we expect appreciation from a material perspective, that I'm doing a service, people should appreciate it. I gave a good class, people should come and just put me on a pedestal. That is unhealthy. Because if tomorrow nobody comes to appreciate me, the next class I will give, it will be very shabby. Because, oh, nobody appreciated me the last time. Looks like I'm not a good speaker. No. Looking for appreciation is not wrong, but don't look for material appreciation. Look for appreciation within. Give yourself credit. Be happy that you're doing a good job. You're doing service to Krishna. And then you're not a Karpana, you'll become a Brahman. Okay. So there's a war in our heart all the time for seeking worldly appreciation, seeking glory from the world, or seeking appreciation from Krishna, seeking reciprocation from Krishna. So there's a war going on in my heart. So that's the 49th verse. Okay. Yes, 49th verse. 50th verse. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in this life. So, this verse has an important part. Yoga karmashu kaushalam. In India, I know there is a premier institute that uses this phrase as their slogan. Yoga karma kaushalam. That you be kaushalam in your duty. That's what they use it as, right? So it means that one should become expert at doing work, right? But we already do our best. But when we connect to Krishna, no matter whatever activity we do becomes yoga, and it becomes kaushalam. Kaushalam means best. Let's say kaushalam means where is that kaushalam? Art. It becomes an art. So we do it as an art, and it becomes the best, right? So devotee of Krishna gives up good and bad of this world by engaging in bhakti. That's how we give up the good and bad. When a soldier fights on the battlefield, he will kill many people. He comes home, he gets a Purple Heart. I think in America you get a Purple Heart. In India you get that Paramveer Chakra. Similarly, Arjun's fighting a war on behalf of Krishna. There is no good or bad because it's connected to Krishna. Right? So that's the way we have to do our duty. Then it becomes yoga karma kaushalam. Yoga karma kaushalam. Strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. The reason it's being called as an art is because by using our intelligence and by not following this rat race that's happening out there in the world, we can be our best. We can be at the best of ourselves. Now, I know many people, they just don't. They sit down and think what I want to do. I know this devotee, and I was talking to her a few days ago. She always says that, people want to put me in different services, that why don't you do, book distribution or some other service? And then she tells me that, but I have an artistic mind, and she likes to design dresses for deities. And she's very strict on that. And I was really appreciating that she is such a good artist. I've seen her designing dresses for deities. So she's not just merely following what others are telling her to do. She's using her intelligence, and she is using that intelligence in service of Krishna. And that's the art, that it becomes an art. She knows what her qualities are, and she is using them to the best of capacity, and it becomes yoga the moment she engages that in Krishna. So I was just talking to her a few days ago and appreciating that she has this quality, that confidence, that I'm not going to follow this a blindfold trend, as everybody is saying. I'm not to say that the other things are wrong, but we all are different. Coming to 51. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back home, back to Godhead. This is the first mention in Bhagavad Gita of something beyond this material world. Verse 51, you can remember that. Later on, Krishna talks about all this. He talks about his in the 15th chapter, towards the end, Krishna will say that that there is a planet, there is a place from which you never come back. So you should strive for that. And then so many places. And he talks in more detail. But right here, this is the first mention of this, that there is a place beyond this material world where there is no birth and death, and there is no misery, right? Kuntha, Vaikuntha. So Kuntha means misery, Vaikuntha means no misery. So that's Padam Padam Gachanti Anamayam. Right? So just like a medicine, or not, let's say talk about mercury. Mercury can be a poison, mercury can also be a medicine. Similarly, karma can be used for bondage, and it can also be a source of liberation for us. So we have to do yoga karma kaushala, and then what happens is that we can padam gachanti anamayam. We can reach that place where there is no birth and death. So here Krishna is giving the result of what he was talking about in the last verse. That when you do yoga karma kaushala, you can get padam gachanti anamayam. That's what you get. That's the goal. Yeah. So anamayam means no misery, without miseries. So amayam means misery, anamayam means no misery. Just as I said, Vaikuntha and Kuntha, right? So that's what we have to understand from here, that now Krishna is teaching Arjuna of something more loftier a principle than what Arjuna was earlier present. Oh, I won't be able to go to heaven, I'll go into hell. And now Krishna is completely redefining that. He's saying, forget about that. So doing what Krishna telling us becomes the moral principle. Okay. I don't try to bring in my own thoughts and philosophy in this, right? When Krishna in the Mahabharata, when he went to Karna and told Karna that you are the eldest son of the Pandavas, you should fight from their side. Why are you fighting from Duryodhana's side? And Karna, in his own foolishness, said, "Oh, like in Hindi they say, right? Maine uska namak khaya." Or in the vernacular, you would say that he is the source of my bread and butter. So, but then what he forgot, Karna forgot, that who is the source of bread and butter for Duryodhana? That's Krishna. So he was trying to act moral, but actually that was immorality, what Karna was doing. So understanding this concept that engaging in devotional service, you become free from the results of work. And what does engaging in devotional service means? Listening to what Krishna is asking you to do. Okay, it doesn't mean anything else. That's the very clear-cut definition. I gave you the example of that IIT student going to a fake guru who had flowery language, and then coming to an actual devotee and getting this clear picture. Krishna never fools around. He gives us a very clear answer and very clear thoughts, right, in there, right? And then earlier I was talking about different levels, immoral, moral, and transcendental morality. So transmoral. So you have to understand that people who are in karmic, who have no concept of spirituality, they are immoral. They do immoral things. I, as a sadhaka bhakta, I am supposed to be moral. I cannot transcend morality. I have to follow the principles that I've been assigned to. But then people who are beyond that, they can also transcend those practices that have been assigned to them. even though generally people don't do that, but they are free to do that. Sometimes people ask, right? The Britishers base their entire destruction principles. They wanted to destroy the spiritual backbone of India. And how did they start? By saying that you pray to a God who steals, right? They couldn't understand this concept. Their brains were short-circuited, right? So they couldn't understand the concept of transmorality. Right? Morality is like a lamp. Think of it as a lamp. If I'm in a dark place, I can use that lamp to lighten up my life. I can see something. But if somebody brings in a sun, I don't need that lamp anymore, right? So if somebody gives me the sun, then what's the use of that morality that I'm not going to worry about it, right? So it's a much higher elimination that I get, right? So that's the way of looking at it. Immoral, moral, and transmoral. So Krishna stealing butter, it's not immoral. If you eat food from your own house, is it immoral? No. If I have a shop, I'm making sweet dishes there, rasgulla, gulab jamun, so so forth. And if I just pick up and start eating from it, am I a thief? Am I a thief? No. Right? It's not immoral. Right? So people who call Krishna immoral, that you steal, some people come and say, oh, you do Rasa Leela, you are immoral. Right? So you cannot do that because we don't understand Krishna. Krishna, because all the living entities are Krishnas. So if he is dancing with them, how is it that wrong? If he is Krishna, how is it wrong? If I own the shop, if I'm using the products of that shop, I'm a thief? No, I'm not. But then as devotees, we don't use that principle, we don't misuse that principle. As I said, because we are Sadhika Bhakti, we have to be the moral platform. When we come to the transcendental morality, Krishna will reveal it to us himself. Don't go jumping red lights because you have to reach to the temple quickly. It's not okay to do that. Right? In the early days, many disciples of Prabhupada would steal flowers from neighbors to offer them to the deities. So when Prabhupada would come and the neighbors would complain to Prabhupada, your disciples, they steal our flowers. Prabhupada would beg forgiveness very humbly, and he would tell his devotees not to steal, because the property from where they are stealing has been assigned to that person, the other person, to the neighbor, by Krishna to take care of. So that's it. So don't untimely try to bring transcendental morality in your life. Then you'll become sahajiyas. You will become pretenders, show bottles, as Prabhupada calls this. Okay, we have 7 minutes. I wanted to finish this section. Let's see if I have anything in this. Okay. 52 and 53. Let's wrap this up section. This one comes, let's read that. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Moha Kalilam, the word that Krishna uses is Moha Kalilam, which is Kalilam is dense forest, Moha is illusion. Right? What can cause that Moha Kalilam? Material desires, temptations, etc. Contradictory instructions we get from different sources. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, Mahaprabhu says this: Bahu Shastra, Bahu Vakya, Chitte Brahma Haya. Bahu Shastra. If you read many books, try to bring in many philosophies in your mind, it will Brahma. It will put your chitta, your consciousness, in illusion. Okay. So once coming to Bhagavad Gita, we should not try to go and try to read other scriptures. And it's not that it's wrong to read other scriptures, but as Prabhupada taught us, fortify yourself with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and then you can go other places. Once a child grows up, then the parents are not going to stick with the child 24/7 and telling him, do this, don't do that. The child's intelligence has been fortified by the parents, and now they let him go into the world and figure it out for himself or herself. That's what Prabhupada wants us to do as a father. Don't try go reading multiple books. You can go to Vrindavan, you go to Loi Bazaar, you go to Ras Bihari, and it's a shop on the first level, if I remember correctly. I will be there many years. He has book from any possible acharya is written in our Gaudiya Sampradaya. Not just Gaudiya Sampradaya, even any Vrindavan acharya. You can get every book from there. And in the beginning, many of Prabhupada's disciples started doing that. Oh, I've got this esoteric literature from this X Goswami, and let's read this. Prabhupada said, don't do that. You just make a fool out of yourself. First, learn what I have given. First, complete your schooling before you start going to reading books of your college and of your PhD. So, we don't go broad, we go deep. We don't need too many things to be spiritual. We just need few things, but we need to know them thoroughly. Don't go into the Moha Kalila. That's what it is. Bahu Shastra, Bahu Vakya, Chitte Brahma, Aya. Mahaprabhu also tells that. So that's what it is asking, Krishna is asking us that Moha Kalila, Buddhi Vyatitarishyati. The word Vyatitarishyati means surpasses. When we are no longer being distracted by all that was around us. We have become nirveda. What is that? Nirveda, right? Callousness. We have no more attracted by it. We become nirveda, right? To what? Shrotavya Shrutasya. Shrotavasya Shrutasya. What that means is that whatever is to be heard and whatever will be heard in the future. What that means is, once you are confident of your knowledge, you don't worry what else is going to come into the future into your life. Whenever Prabhupada, whenever any of his disciples would come, or anybody would ask him, okay, Prabhupada, what do you think about this ex-guru? He's giving classes nowadays here. Prabhupada would very casually say, what is this philosophy? And that person would tell him, this is that person's philosophy. And Prabhupada would clearly tell him, oh, this is all nonsense. These are rascals. Or Prabhupada would say, okay, yes, this philosophy is appropriate. We should follow. So there was nothing Prabhupada would be surprised on hearing. Nothing of that sort. Why? Because he is out of that Moha Kalila, right? But for me, my intelligence is trapped in it. And when I'm no longer excited by the material promises, even by the material promises that are given in the scriptures, then my intelligence is never going to fall trapped in the forest of illusion. As a matter of fact, my intelligence will take a helicopter, will go over the forest of illusion and zoom. That's what it is. Right? So, but then till we are in this Moha Kalila, we follow the moral principles, the guidance Prabhupada has given us. You go to the temple, you see deities, you pay your obeisance. Don't try to copy people who are on the trans-moral platform, who are transcendental, who have spontaneous love for Krishna. Don't try to follow them. Don't go to that level. That will be like, you'll be hurting yourself. You'll be hurting ourselves. So what this verse is telling us, 52nd verse, that spiritually realized people, they stay uninfluenced by what they are hearing now, what they have heard in the past, or what they're going to hear in the future. They are fixed in that inner connection with Krishna, and it helps them sustain and strengthen that connection. Sorry, yes, it helps them sustain that connection, and everything else that helps them sustain that connection, they are established in that. They are fixed in it. Those practices what Prabhupada has given us, and what guidance we are getting from Bhakti. Okay, last verse. Let's wrap up this section, and from the next section we can. Oh, this is a good section here. Let's see this. Prabhupada is telling us Vedic rituals and rites are imperative for neophytes. Praying 3 times a day, taking bath in the morning, respect to forefathers, Pitradan, so and so forth. But one who is engaged in transcendental loving service, he can become indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. What it means, he has come out of Moha Kalilam. But at least I am still in this neophyte stage. I won't give up these rituals that Prabhupada has given us. Because I'm still in neophyte, I'm still not in this, I'm still deeply in that Moha Kalila, and I can't find a way out of it. Yeah. Okay, 1 minute, last verse. Let's wrap this up. Here, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Samadho, is what Krishna tells us is we will attain. Samadha, achala buddhis. Achala means it will never be shaken. Okay, buddhis, intelligence. So we will have achala buddhis. Samadho, achala buddhis. When my mind is no longer. So this is the complete outcome of this Buddhi Yoga section, which starts from verse 39, and I think it ends at 53. So the end is that when you follow those principles of not being attached to anything, not being attached to your results, and not being tolerating, being equipoised, what is the outcome will be? You'll become samadho, will be a situation samadhi, it's self-realization. And that's what we all want to be. That's what we all want to be. Viparitipanna means without being influenced by the fruitive results of Vedas or by Vedas. Nishala buddhi means ready intelligence, right? Whenever we get connected to Krishna, we become that achala buddhi, samadho, achala buddhi. So now, because Krishna uses the word samadho here, samadhi, it gives rise to the whole discussion from verse 54 to 72, where Arjuna asks, what are the symptoms of someone in samadhi? That's the whole. So the remaining section is not, as I have told you before, is not an answer to one of Arjun's dilemma. It's coming from now the question that Arjuna asks here, 54th verse. What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? So that somebody is Chita Pragya, which Krishna will talk about later. Samadhi sthasya. When Arjuna hears the word samadhi, he asks this question further. So now all the questions raised by Arjuna in the first chapter, plus some in the second, have been answered by Krishna, have been dealt with, and from here a new set is going to start, which we will do next week. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. If there is any questions or thoughts last minute, if anybody wants to bring that up, this is the time.
This is one of my most favorite, I think, class so far, Prabhuji. I mean, of course, I mean, I didn't want to, all the classes really wonderful, but